product provided by Nintendo.
One night, under the cover of darkness, the gluttonous King Dedede and his minions stole all the food in Dreamland, as well as the sparkling stars used to obtain more food. The next morning, as the residents were coping with this crime, Kirby, a young resident of Dreamland, volunteered to retrieve the food and stars and stop Dedede. After a tireless journey across Dreamland, Kirby located, challenged, and defeated King Dedede's minions using his inhalation and floating abilities along the way. After a long struggle across the Dreamland, Kirby finally reached Dedede's castle and faced the giant penguin in a final showdown. After a dramatic battle, Kirby launched its final blast and sent Dedede out of the castle. With the help of the sparkle stars, Kirby then transformed into a giant balloon to lift the castle high up into the air and spread the stolen food back to the inhabitants across the land. High above Dreamland, there was a sacred fountain known as the Fountain of Dreams, which collected the hopes and dreams of every living thing on planet Popstar, and in turn provided restful sleep to the residents of the world. Sometime after the first struggle against King Dedede, after waking up from an after-lunch nap without having any dreams, Kirby went to the fountain to find out what's going on. Upon doing so, he discovered that King Dedede was at it again and had stolen the legendary Star Rod, the source of the fountain's power, and broke it into 7 pieces. Dedede then handed the 6 fragments to his allies, Wispy Woods, Paint Roller, Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright, Kracko, Heavy Mole, and Meta Knight, while keeping one of the pieces for himself. Without the Star Rod, all of the inhabitants of Dreamland became more and more tired and irritable. Thinking that this was King Dedede's doing, Kirby decided to track down the fragments of the Star Rod and restore everyone's dreams. Kirby once again defeated King Dedede and restored Star Rod, placed the rod back into the fountain while ignoring King Dedede's protests. Nevertheless, this time the king had a reason to warn Kirby, as in the moment Kirby placed the rod back in its place, an ominous black ambience filled the sky and emerged from the fountain. After all, it turned out that King Dedede was doing his part in protecting the Fountain of Dreams from an evil entity known as Nightmare, who had corrupted the fountain. The unshackled Nightmare flew off into space, but rather than allowing him to escape, King Dedede called an unexpected temporary truce with Kirby, inhaling him in the Star Rod and launching into the air towards Nightmare. Eventually, Kirby was able to tap into the Star Rod's power and used it to conquer Nightmare. With Nightmare defeated, Kirby returned the Star Rod to its proper resting place on top of the Fountain of Dreams and brought balance to the Dreamland once again. Following the Dedede-Kirby alliance, a force known as Dark Matter stole the Rainbow Bridges that tie the 7 Rainbow Islands together, possessed King Dedede, and slowly took over Dreamland. To face this evil, Kirby set out on a journey to defeat Dark Matter, and along the way befriended 3 animals, Rick the Hamster, Coo the Owl, and Kine the Ocean Sunfish. After traveling through 7 different islands and defeating their respective bosses, Kirby reached the possessed King Dedede and overpowered him. With all 7 rainbow drops from each island, Kirby then formed the Rainbow Sword and exorcised Dark Matter from Dedede. Holding the mystic object, Kirby followed Dark Matter for a final showdown. Dark Matter was defeated, and Kirby rode the sword down to safety and then used it to create a new rainbow, thus restoring peace to Dreamland. One day, while Kirby and Gooey, a black blob with a pair of eyes and a mouth, were fishing, Dark Matter appeared again and destroyed the planet's rings. Filled with hate and lust for revenge, Dark Matter ran rampant and possessed various inhabitants of the Dreamland and its rulers, including King Dedede. Seeing this, Kirby and Gooey soon teamed up with their pals Rick, Coo, and Kine, along with Pitch the Bird, Choo Choo the Octopus, and Nago the Cat. After visiting each land and confronting the 5 rulers, Kirby made his way to confront Dedede. After a short battle, the possessed king fell. Dark matter then emerged and once again flew into the atmosphere to escape with Kirby in hot pursuit. After a climactic battle with dark matter, the true evil leader that was Zero emerged, leading to a long and decisive battle. Zero, the evil leader, cornered and out of desperation, gouged out his eye in a final move to defeat the pink ball, but it was for naught. Darkness was destroyed, and Kirby floated back down to Dreamland, where peace was restored. After being defeated by Kirby, dark matter set its sights on the planet Ripple Star, home of the fairies, to grant himself power from the Great Crystal. To his dismay, a single fairy named Ribbon escaped from her home with their sacred treasure. Infuriated to hunt down Ribbon and claim the Great Crystal, which upon a brief confrontation was shattered throughout the galaxy and sent Ribbon falling onto Kirby's home planet, Popstar. Upon Ribbon's landing, Kirby located one of the shards and agreed to help retrieve the rest of the crystal shards to save Ripple Star from dark matter's control. Along the way, Kirby and Ribbon encountered Waddle Dee, Adeline, and King Dedede, who each had found a crystal shard. Seeing this, dark matter attacked and possessed each one of them, but Kirby, relentless and fearless as he was, freed them from being dark matter's servants. Kirby and the group restored the crystal and reached Ripple Star, where they purged the planet and its queen of dark matter's influence using the restored crystal. However, in what seemed to be another moment of defeat, dark matter turned the table by using the possessed fairy queen to form a new planet, Dark Star. Not willing to waste any time, Kirby and Ribbon departed to confront and defeat Zero-2, the revived form of Zero. Using the crystal and flight from Ribbon, Kirby was able to shoot down Zero-2 without being hit and obliterate Dark Star. The victorious team returned safely to Ripple Star and were hailed as heroes for saving the residents of Ripple Star and the universe. High above the skies of Dreamland, there was a mirror world, a world where any wish that is reflected in the mirror will come true. One day, the mirror was possessed by a mysterious force and began copying evil minds, thus rapidly turned this world evil. The courageous Meta Knight noticed this and flew into the mirror world to protect Dreamland and figure out what was causing the changes to the mirror. Meanwhile, Kirby was ambushed by Meta Knight's dark persona and ended up being sliced into 4 different color Kirbys. Angered, they set out to hunt down Dark Meta Knight on a warp star to enter the mirror world. After a little traversing through the mirror world, Kirby noticed 2 Meta Knights fighting each other. Unfortunately, despite his courage, the noble Meta Knight was defeated by his evil doppelganger and sent into a second mirror, which was then cut into 8 fragments by Dark Meta Knight. Dark Meta Knight then scattered the fragments across the mirror world. Didn't take long for Kirby to realize that the mirror of the mirror world had created a dark version of himself that serves Dark Meta Knight. Seeing these multiple threats, the different Kirbys decided to split up and collect the mirror pieces. After collecting all 8 mirror fragments, Kirby entered the now restored mirror and initiated a battle with Dark Meta Knight. Upon his defeat, a vortex appeared and sucked Kirby in. Meta Knight, who just witnessed the battle, threw his sword to support Kirby in his fight against Darkmind, the true mastermind behind the mirror world's corruption. Darkmind's dream of conquering the mirror world was shattered, and peace returned. Shadow Kirby, who was thought to be Dark Meta Knight's ally, waves his goodbyes to the 4 Kirbys as they left the mirror world one by one through the original mirror door. Following the rumors that a sorcerer was traveling around Dreamland turning people into yarn, our hero Kirby noticed a Maxi M tomato, his favorite food, sitting on top of a bush. Without thinking about how peculiar this tomato was, with its oddly italic M and yarn-like skin, Kirby attempted to devour the tomato as fast as he could. Unknown to Kirby, the tomato belonged to the sorcerer the inhabitants of Dreamland were warning about. Clueless to this fact, Kirby was banished by the sorcerer to Patchland, a world made entirely of fabric. With it, our hero was transformed into yarn. Shortly upon arrival in Patchland, Kirby noticed a yarn monster chasing a defenseless boy. Kirby immediately set out to help and attempted to suck up the monster, but to no avail, as his new yarn body wouldn't allow him to do so, as the air just went right through him. Instead, he randomly transformed into a car and drove away from the monster with the boy on the roof. the boy, who soon explained that he was Prince Fluff and that the sorcerer Yin Yarn had ripped Patchland into 7 pieces after removing the magic yarn that held the land together. Kirby, more than happy to help, joined forces with the prince to recover all the magic yarn and take down Yin Yarn. Meanwhile, back in Dreamland, Yin Yarn captured King Dedede and Meta Knight and began transforming Dreamland into patches and stitching until all seemed to be lost to Yin Yarn. Along their journey, Kirby and Prince Fluff were forced to fight Yarn King Dedede and Meta Knight, who were both under the control of Yin Yarn. Kirby defeated both Dedede and Meta Knight, breaking the spell they were under. Once freed, Meta Knight and Dedede joined Kirby and Prince Fluff to string the world back together and inform the two that Yin Yarn was turning Dreamland into fabric. Kirby was frustrated as he couldn't see any way back to Dreamland to save it. Learning about this, Prince Fluff revealed to Kirby that he has the opposite sock to the one Yin Yarn used to bring him to Patchland. Kirby took no hesitation and traveled back to Dreamland to confront the sorcerer. Infuriated with Kirby's escape, Yin Yarn summoned various woolly creatures such as a dragon, octopus, and giant Waddle Dees to take down our hero. Despite all these foes, Kirby and Prince managed to pierce through, defeat Yin Yarn, break the spell cast on Dreamland, and restore himself and Dreamland back to normal. On a typical sunny day in Dreamland, Kirby and the gang were fooling around when out of nowhere a spaceship appeared and broke apart while entering Popstar, which prompted Kirby and his friends to run over and see if everyone aboard was all right. They entered the ship and encountered a frantic extraterrestrial called Magalore. After learning that his ship separated into many parts across the land, Magalore offered the group a trip to his beloved homeworld of Halcandra, should they help gather the missing parts and help fix his ship. Kirby was quick to accept the proposal, and his friends set off to recover the 5 lost pieces of his ship across the planet. After the gang retrieved all 5 pieces, they flew to Halcandra, just as Magalore promised. On their flight, they were suddenly attacked and struck down by a beastly 4-headed dragon named Landia. As usual, with no hesitation, our heroes ran off to defeat the 4-headed beast. After Landia was defeated, the crown on the top of his head fell off, and Magalore revealed his true motive was to steal the Master Crown back, as it was constructed by the ancestors of his race as a source of limitless power. Once he placed it on his head, he became all-powerful, with the intent of making the entire universe bow before him, beginning with Popstar for helping in his ploy. Magalore then opened up a wormhole and made his way to the group's home planet. Kirby and his friends were in utter shock by this betrayal. Landia, the former 4-headed dragon, who was now split into 4 dragons separately, picked up Kirby and his friends and chased down the demonic king through the interdimensional portal. Once the group caught up to Magalore, Kirby quickly confronted and defeated him. To Kirby's surprise, the Magalore's crown was staying afloat, and it was revealed that his soul had become one with the crown. As a result, Kirby was forced to confront Magalore in a second and final battle. With some quick thinking, he managed to destroy the Master Crown for good, taking Magalore's soul with it. With Magalore destroyed, the wormhole began to crumble, and Kirby and his friends fled back through to their home planet. After a long day of fishing, flying, and relaxing, Kirby set off to bed to recharge for the next day. That night, a beanstalk started to grow under Dreamland and carried various buildings, including Kirby's house and King Dedede's castle, into the sky. When Kirby woke up the next morning, almost falling to his demise, he found himself in the land of Floralia, located high in the skies above Dreamland. Kirby then climbed his way up to Dedede's castle and finds that the culprit behind the Dreamstalk is a 6-armed spider-like being named Taranza, and witnessed his power as he captured Dedede and trapped him in a prism made of light. Taranza fled with Dedede in tow, and Kirby ascended the Dreamstalk to set things right in Dreamland. After an intense fight, Kirby was able to knock out King Dedede and free him of another brainwashing. Taranza then revealed that he had been working for Floralia's queen, the bee-wasp being Queen Sectonia. He also revealed that the Floralians planted the Dreamstalk in the hopes of summoning Dreamland's hero to their aid. Queen Sectonia appeared just to punish Taranza for his failure of finding the wrong hero and blasted him from the tower and turned her attention to Kirby. After several skirmishes, Kirby, aided by King Dedede and a remorseful Taranza, manage to defeat the Mad Queen, incinerate her and the vines around planet Popstar in the process. One day, while playing chess and napping, a massive UFO called the Access Ark, filled with robotic invaders, sneaked up and rapidly mechanized their home planet, Popstar. Seeing this, King DDD and Meta Knight launched an offensive against the robotic extraterrestrials, but the cannons from Castle DDD and Meta Knight's airship, Halberdier, were both easily overpowered by the invaders. Kirby, who slept through the entire battle, awoke from his nap, was curious of what was going on, and raced off to check out a brand new base that extended into the clouds. There he was faced by a mech which stood no chance against Kirby and plummeted into the ground. Being the curious creature that he is, Kirby jumped into the mech armor, which transformed itself to suit Kirby's strengths and powers. Kirby started destroying the 5 bases across the corners of planet Popstar that serve as the Access Ark's landing legs. Along the way, Kirby encounters Susie, an alien secretary that works for the Haltman Works Company. She claimed to be gathering natural resources from the planet's ecosystems for her boss. Kirby defeated her, and Susie fled on a drone. After Kirby destroyed the last of the 5 landing legs, Kirby enters the space station, and he meets the president and CEO of Haltman Works Corporation, Max Prophet Haltman. President Haltman fired Susie for all her numerous failed attempts to defeat Kirby. The president claimed he must follow his supercomputer's business plan, calls out his mech, and challenges Kirby to a duel. Furious that he lost to what he called a wild savage, Haltman activates his computer Stardream, and was stopped by his vengeful ex-employee Susie. Stardream became self-aware and attacked her, took over the president's body, and became sentient. Stardream said,
"Unfortunately, you imperfect, fragile life forms were a liability, so you are invited to witness the end of history. Enjoy your destruction."
The self-aware Stardream lifted up into space, leaving Kirby and Susie behind. Meta Knight returns with his repaired halberd and fuses it with Kirby's Robobot armor. The newly formed machine takes off into space to take down the supercomputer. Kirby and his mech halberd disables Stardream and sends it down to collide with the Access Ark. The AI takes control of the enormous spaceship, transforming it into a mechanical planet, and brings the fight back to Kirby. With the Ark's armor destroyed, Stardream shot out an energy beam, landed a critical hit on the halberd mech. Kirby ejects himself from the fusion and drills right through Stardream, causing him to explode. The unconscious Kirby drifted back down to planet Popstar and left his mech floating away in space. With the destruction of the computer, Popstar reverted back to its natural state. And once again, peace was returned to Dreamland.
Before we get to Kirby Star Allies part in the timeline, we're going to give you our spoiler-free review of the game itself, provided by Nintendo. #free game, #free product. But if you want to skip ahead to its place in the timeline, which does have spoilers, skip to this part right here. You ready? Okay, here we go. Kirby Star Allies is a game all about cooperation, whether it be with a group of friends or CPUs. Unlike Return to Dreamland on the Wii, playing the game with 3 other companions is now a requirement. By throwing hearts at enemies, they instantaneously become friends with Kirby and join his side, utilizing their unique powers to fight enemies and solve puzzles. Elemental powers can even be combined with weapons to create flame swords, ice hammers, wind whips, you name it. For example, if you're trying to cut down a bomb, you're going to want to use a flame sword to instantly ignite it as it falls. There are a lot more creative puzzles like this one throughout the game, and if you're the kind of person that likes playing games alone, you will be pleased to find that the partner AI works well. They all know how to defend themselves and when to use their powers to solve the puzzles. However, this is both a blessing and a curse, as it can make the game too easy. Granted, Kirby games were never meant to be mind-numbingly challenging, but Star Allies takes it a little too far with the additional 3 companions there to watch your back. Each level is designed around this 4-player setup and hinders their creativity as a result. What is creative though are the new copy abilities Kirby has at his disposal, such as the artist ability that lets you paint food or little DDDs and Meta Knights. Though I recommend bringing in the actual DDD and Meta Knight from the Dream Palace, where you can unlock these characters after beating their boss battles. And I'm sorry to say that Yoked DDD only makes one small appearance. As for content, Star Allies' main story isn't too long, running in at around 6 to 7 hours, though you can unlock extra stages that will extend your playtime about another 2. Outside of the main campaign, there are other modes that act as party minigames, like Star Slam Heroes and Chop Champs. They're fun, I just wish there were more of them. Thankfully, there are other meaty extras like a boss rush and post-game where you can play as the actual minions rather than Kirby himself. To avoid comparing this to previous Kirbys, I will say that Star Allies takes the 4-player concept and executes it well. However, I can't help but wish that this was a primarily single-player experience with the extra companions as an option like in Return to Dreamland, which I played a lot of quite recently before the release of Star Allies, and I found it better. Not to say Star Allies is a bad game, it's good, it's just not amazing. It takes very little risks and doesn't do much to try and reel in non-fans of the series. In that regard, Kirby Star Allies is good and is sure to please fans of the series, but if you're not a seasoned veteran and are looking for something new to buy on the Switch, maybe wait for a sale. This is why we give Kirby Star Allies a fair 82 out of 100. So without delay, let's continue on to the Kirby Timeline. In the furthest reaches of outer space, on a planet called Jumbastion, a dark heart-shaped crystal exploded into tiny fragments, all landing on the planet Popstar. These crystal fragments, known as Jamba Hearts, corrupted all those that dare went near it, including the likes of King DDD and Meta Knight. Kirby, however, did not get negatively affected by said crystals, and instead adopted a power that let his foes become his friends. After getting hit by the heart, he noticed a flock of Waddle Dees bringing food to King DDD's castle. Kirby and his new friends decided to investigate the matter and discovered the king eating the rest of the kingdom's food and somehow accumulating a ridiculous amount of mass. Kirby and his Star Allies defeated the king and then Meta Knight. All of a sudden, a large Jamba fort appeared on the planet, causing Kirby's team to defeat the fortress's generals, Francisca, Flamberge, and Zan. They encountered the head honcho, Lord Highness, and engaged in a battle between him and the 3 generals. The villains then sacrificed themselves to unleash the powerful being, the Void Termina. Kirby and his friends then hopped on to the Star Allies Sparkler, engaging in a final battle of epic proportions. Now, with the Void Termina destroyed and the planet Popstar safe, Kirby and his newfound allies used a warp star to return safely home. And that, my friends, concludes the Kirby Timeline. We thank you very much for watching, and we especially thank our supporters on Patreon, including royal producer Kenyatta Ali, for making huge projects like this one possible. Becoming a patron would provide you with our exclusive weekly podcast, early access to some of our videos, and a gold pin. So if you like our content, please consider contributing at patreon.com/commonrealm, as we'd like to work full-time on delivering the best gaming content to you wonderful girls and guys. So with that, this has been the Commonwealth Realm, and we will see you all in the next one.